Oh, I hope you're sitting down for this, because this month, Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pack subscribers are getting not one, but two Nintendo 64 games. That's the good news. The bad news is that the two games are Mario Party 1 and 2. That's right, we're getting the first two Mario Party games, which were released all the way back in 1999 and 2000. Yeah, that's cool and all, but are either of these games actually worth playing in 2022? To answer that question, I decided to flip through the pages of Electronic Gaming Monthly, Insight Video Gaming, Game Pro, and more classic magazines to see what the critics said back when Mario Party 1 and 2 first came out. So go ahead and grab a few friends and get your dice throwing hand ready, because this is another star-stealing episode of the Nintendo Switch Online Review Crew.
Let me in, dude. Come on, man.
Don't you know who my daddy is?
I'm a friend of Mario's. I know the princess.
We went to grade school together.
I can't let you in, kid. You're wearing a tie.
It's time for Mario Party 2, rated E for everyone. With 5 new adventure boards and 64 minigames, you're definitely gonna want in.
Pizza!
Him.
Although Nintendo is best known for making video games, the company has always had a soft spot for board games. You saw this when they not only released Anticipation on the Nintendo Entertainment System, but then later compared Super Mario Bros. 3's Overworld to a board game. Their most obvious shot at the classic board game came in 1999 when they released Mario Party, a game that improved on the board and die formula by adding 4-player minigames and all your favorite stars from the Mushroom Kingdom. You know what? It worked, spawning 10 sequels, 4 spin-offs, and even a couple of compilation games. For nearly a decade, Mario Party was Nintendo's go-to annual series. Critics largely enjoyed this debut installment, though a lot of the franchise's long-term problems were apparent in the early reviews. And that said, Electronic Gaming Monthly's Dan started his review by proclaiming to be a self-confessed geek, then goes on to explain that he feels secure saying a 4-player Mario Party can be more fun than a night out in Chicago. He goes on to praise the simplicity, though notes that you may get bored playing the same games over and over. John also liked the game, explaining that Mario Party is an extremely well-designed game that packs hours upon hours of alarmingly fun gameplay, and it's more than 50 minigames. There's just one catch: you'd better have friends. As a one-player game, it's fun, but playing against the often predictable CPU opposition gets stale quickly. Over in the UK, Computer and Video Games magazine wasn't nearly as kind as EGM. In fact, with a score of 3 out of 5, CVG gave Mario Party the lowest marks. Ed argued that the only way to play Mario Party is with 3 other people when you set aside a few hours, just as you would with a real board game. It's good fun for a while, as the stealing coins and stars action can get quite competitive, and trying out the mini-games is a laugh. You're not likely to want to play too often, which means that renting would be a better idea than buying. But like all party games, it's a nice thing to have in case of a rainy day. Back in the United States, Nintendo Power was stuck in the middle, giving it a so-so 7.9 out of 10. The highest score I could find came from Game Pro, which ended up giving it a perfect 5 out of 5 when it was reviewed back in issue 127. This is a nicely crafted multiplayer game that's great for people of all ages and skill levels. Even the single-player mode is fun, but the party really starts when players interact with each other while competing in this hilarious game. Yep, they definitely know their audience. With scores all over the place, you should download Mario Party for yourself and see if it still holds up. Just make sure to invite some friends over and, have a few hours to spare. Released only 11 months after the first game, Mario Party 2 is, it's more Mario Party. Look, not to get dismissive or anything, but Mario Party 2 is the first in a long line of mostly annual sequels that added just enough to warrant a purchase. In this case, you get more elaborate boards, 65 different mini-games, and a number of tweaks that came from watching how people played the original game. That's all well and good, but is that enough to warrant a full-on sequel? Well, let's see what the critics said. While Electronic Gaming Monthly gave it a slightly lower score, they were still largely on board with this franchise. Sean starts his review by raving that party games like Mario Party 2 are the best. It makes kicking back with a group of your favorite chums for a night of tainted beverages and gut-splitting laughs all the easier. Sure, the game's a little childish and silly in spots, but it will entertain you again and again. Crispin also liked it, though wasn't sure that the sequel was worth grabbing if you've already played the original to death. Too many of the minigames here feel like refurbished versions of the old ones, and you'll find few enhancements to the rules. Still, only the most jaded Mario bashers among you will snub this expertly crafted multiplayer experience. You ended up seeing similar scores coming out of Die Hard Game Fan, who may have been a little bit disappointed, but still managed to average an 84%. Nintendo Power gave it an 8 out of 10, which is just slightly higher than what they gave the first game. And then there's Insight Video Gaming, which liked the large, colorful themed boards filled with off-the-wall, challenging minigames, but knocked off points for the old-fashioned turn-based board game waiting time and for being not much fun when you're playing alone. That said, they did rank it higher than not only the original, but also Mario Kart, Chef's Love Shack, and Monopoly? Yeah, okay, Insight. Now, in case you're wondering, yes, GamePro once again gave a Mario Party game the highest score. Though to be fair, it is down a little bit from the original. They argued that Mario's second big party game came a little faster than most fans probably expected, but that's okay. In this case, too much of a good thing isn't bad at all. Mario Party 2 makes a great, if somewhat familiar, 4-player fiesta. On the other hand, Next Generation Magazine ended up giving the game the lowest score with a 3 out of 5. They largely say the same thing as everybody else, explaining that the game has one major drawback. With fewer than 4 players, it loses much of its luster. With just one player running around collecting stars and coins to beat the 3 CPU opponents is about as much fun as a single-player game of Monopoly. Just in case you're wondering, it would take another sequel or two before the critics started to turn on the Mario Party franchise. So, for the most part, everybody gave thumbs up to Mario Party 2. And now, thanks to the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, you can compare the two games side by side. You know, if that's a thing you want to do.
64
ビビアンパーティーに招待されましたお邪魔しまーす
Welcome Mario Party!
わあみんな盛り上がってる
コントローラーをどうぞ新作ミニゲーム大増量ギュギュッと64種類家族みんなでパーティーだ任天堂64マリオパーティー2
レッツパーティー
64クリアカラーで新登場
Hey, thanks for watching me talk about these classic magazine reviews. If you enjoy shows like this, then you'll be happy to know that we post one of these every single time Nintendo adds a new retro game to their subscription service. We do the same thing with Sony and even Cubite Interactive, which, believe it or not, has a bunch of classic compilations on the horizon. Now, here's the question I have for you. What is your favorite party game? Well, I've certainly had a good time playing Mario Party. My favorite is definitely You Don't Know Jack. What about you? Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back shortly with a review of Atari 50, Outshine, Tunic, The Fridge is Red, and a whole lot more. While you wait for that, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,